grant. And for the purpose of today's workshop, the organizing committee were able to find two important dignitaries who will serve as speakers that will enlighten us on how to acquire this research grant and how to also manage the grant after acquisition. And, before I introduce members to the high table, I would like to ask the honor of Dr. Abdullahi Raji from the Department of Veterinary Pathology to please come forward to give us an opening. Thank you.
Yes, that's why. Yes.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant the presenters easiness and softness of their presentation, and may He equally grant us the fastness in understanding and capturing whatsoever they are going to present.
So, thank you very much. The next item we have on the agenda is introduction of the members to the high table. And with that, I want to first begin by recognizing the presence and inviting to the high table the chairman of today's occasion, Professor A.A. Babudo, who is ably represented by our father here, Professor M.A. Wasabu, who is from the Department of Science Education, Faculty of Education and Extension Services. So you're welcome and you're invited. And I also want to say that he's a former provost of the Federal College of Education in Katsina State. So you're welcome once again. For the workshop proper, as I have said, the committee have been able to actually identify two important personnel to also come for the presentation. And in the search of those individuals, they were able to have the honor of inviting our teachers. And one of them, who is the lead speaker, is Professor S.O. Bello from Department of Pharmacology and Therapeutics, Faculty of Basic Clinical Sciences of College of Health Sciences. You're welcome. You're invited to the high table. Thank you, sir. Our second speaker is also our teacher and father. For that, we have Professor S.Y.B. Kura from Department of Political Science, Faculty of Social Sciences, Usman Ambodo University, Sokoto. You are welcome. You are invited to the high table, please. While welcoming you all, I also want to recognize and introduce the director of CAMRED, who is also the University Grant Management Officer, Dr. Mustafa Umar Imam. He's also in our midst. Sir, you are highly welcome. Without wasting much of our time, I would like to hand over the microphone to the chairman for his welcome address.
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor,
management team as well as the grant management. I would like to welcome everybody to this important occasion. I've been drafted just yesterday, sitting for Professor Wang, who is one of the absent. Gladly accepted to do so. Accepted to do so for several reasons. For one, this is a very important occasion. And for two, I'm an opportunity and privilege to serve in the National Screening Committee of TetFund, so I know what it entails, what it means. I know why proposals are rejected. So for that particular reason, to be better to attend and hear speakers equally important. 3 months ago, I gave a lead paper on the same topic as Software State University on how to win the grant. So I think I'm in the right place, and I think I could be a better person to be here. That much said, I think I want to welcome the distinguished presenters who are here to enlighten you and update you on how you can win a TetFund grant. We are particularly, I think, restricting ourselves to TetFund grants, but that is not to say that that's the only grants that you can win in Nigeria. There are many other agencies that you can win research grants. One of them, for example, is the NERDC, the Educational Research and Development Council. In 2009, I wrote a proposal with them, and I won a 10 billion naira grant to do research. So I think you can enter into other grants with the idea you are going to get today. That much I do, I think. I want to welcome you once more and wish us a very successful deliberation as we proceed with the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A round of applause, please, Mr. Chairman. I would like at this juncture to also recognize and invite to the high table the Dean of Students Affairs, Professor Aminu Mode. Sir, please, you are welcome and you are invited to the high table. We also have in our midst the presence of Professor Aminu Bayawa, who is HOD Chemistry and the Chairman of PDDF Kudus. Sir, you are also welcome and you are invited to the high table. Thank you very much, sir. For the workshop proper, I want to begin by inviting one of the speakers to come forward for this presentation. And our lead speaker today is Professor S.O. Bello from the Department of Pharmacology and Therapeutics, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, College of Health Sciences, University of Sokoto. The presenter today before us is not new. We were his students, and I want to gladly give a brief citation about him. He acquired his BSc from Obafemi Awolowo University from 1980 to 1984, and he also had his master's in medicine from 1980 to 1987. He badged his PhD in pharmacology from 1998 to 2003. He proceeded also to King's College in London, United Kingdom, for training in 2011 for clinical pharmacology. And he was also worked in Philadelphia, United States of America, from 2017 to 2018 for medical education scholarship and research. He was also in Keele University in UK from 2018 to 2019 for health professionals education certificate. He took appointment with Usman Danfodio as lecturer 1 in 2003 to 2006, and then to senior lecturer from 2006 to 2010, and became professor of pharmacology and therapeutics in 2010 to date. He was once the HOD of his department, the Deputy Provost, College of Health Sciences, 2011 to 2015. He was also once the Dean, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences from 2015 to 2017. And he was also the Provost of College of Health Sciences from 2017 to 2021. He had published more than 110 publications in both national and international journals and have attended several conferences and workshops nationally and also internationally. Recently, he is the head candidate therapeutics subgroup of the National COVID-19 Research Consortium, NCDC in Abuja, and also a member of the Ministerial Expert Committee on COVID-19. Outside his academic information, I contacted his friends. Some of them said he is scrupulously honest. And some also said that he is a man with distinctive and incomparable character. Some said he is an emancipated young man and a patriotic citizen. As students, we used to call him an encyclopedia of pharmacology, and some of us also call him a reservoir of knowledge. So we are glad to have the opportunity to have you honoring this invitation to give us a presentation on the tips of acquiring TetFund NRF grant. You're welcome.
Thank you for all that. Stop that. It's okay. Thank you. Let's run straight. How do we win NRF grants? As the chairman said, it's almost similar to how you win any grant. But this topic is mainly focused on NRF. As applicable to NRF. The first thing you need to know about any grant is minimum. Now, it is a very common misconception that you need to know somebody to win it. And that if you don't know people there, you don't have the connection, you don't get to win it. And that discouraging attitude make people floppy in the preparation, floppy in the write-up when they decide to do it anyway, because they think they're probably just wasting their time because you are not among the key club that will get it. It's not true. It's winnable. The first 7 grants are applied for, and you don't win. And that's the 11% of very rarely we win the first grant that you are applying. This is because the process will make mistakes and you get to find out what you did wrong. But subsequently, I tend to be all the subsequent ones because I've learned the key and the tricks. And that is what we are here to get to know. But the most important is that positive attitude that is minimum. You go for many other things that are available in Nigeria now. Entrepreneurship, money, so many of them there. I know somebody that got 3, but many people don't apply because they still because a signature or a house rent now win. It's winnable. So please apply. At least there's nothing to lose. Only a lot of things to gain. Spend that time to do it properly. The next thing is to really think of what you want to apply, the research you want to do, and ask yourself, will you give you the grant? Give you what you put down, what you want to do. If you had that 20 million naira or 50 million naira you're asking for, and it's the only money you have, will give you that money to do that stuff. If you can answer that question, if you answer that question in the affirmative, then probably you should go ahead. Otherwise, it's a lot of work on that grant. The second thing is to study and master the guidelines to any grants. To get money from people and to give people money, these two are very difficult processes. And when they run into people, it becomes very difficult, but they are surmountable. But the key thing is that each granting body has guidelines, which details
what they want, what are their objectives, how they want you to apply for it, what are the limitations, what are the eligibility. Now, having participated in assessing a lot of guidelines or grants, one thing you will notice that a lot of people fail because they don't follow the guidelines. And the question you ask yourself that is either he did not read the guideline or he doesn't care after reading it. I don't know which is worse, but any one of them is not a good situation. So if you are really thinking of TetFund or any guideline, and you are any grant and you have not mastered the guideline at this point, there's a long road to walk. So you need to master the guideline. And after mastering it, you need to follow it, please. Not only knowing it, but follow it. But a lot of times you see guidelines, institutional based site, limit is 2 million, and in their first paper you pick, somebody has put 15 million on the question. It's clearly saying that 2 million is the limit. And that's just a sure pathway to failure. So why would somebody do that? So please follow the guidelines after reading it. Then innovate. This is scarce resources, and they're asking to be given to do a research. It should not be a run-of-the-road research, the one that everybody does. What is innovative in this research? What is eye-catching? What will make somebody want to give another person scarce money to do this research? So you have to be innovative. Research grants are money given to you to do your work. The American attitude is that they are helping you to do your work, so they don't give you anything anyway as a researcher, because you have to do your work. The British attitude, which we copy, give you some stipend as a researcher, but they are helping you to do your work, because at initial, as an academic and in an institution like this, you should be doing the research. But nobody wants you. It's very difficult to use your own money that you need for that. So they are helping you. You should be thinking of where to your field, what is new, what are the next challenges in your field, and what answers have not been, what questions have not been answered. So you need to be innovative. Now, I'm not sure this is clear, but therefore I will need to go to them. Everybody read it. Another thing that you need to make sure your research fit the categories and themes of the grant body. You need to make sure you have the capacity to conduct that research. There are many research in your area you may not have the capacity to do, either because you have not been exposed to the methodology yourself, although you may know the theory. Now, there's no point trying to do a research in that field unless you have improved your capacity, or you have somebody in the team that has the capacity, because it will show in your methodology when you put your methodology down. The person reviewing it is somebody who has the capacity. You will see red lines that you don't know what you are talking about. So make sure you have the capacity. And make sure your team is obviously high performing. What is a high performing team? You have the team of your research. A high performing team, one of the characteristics of the high performing team is that there's an obvious role for everybody. Not because they are in the department, so you put everybody's name in the department, or they are your friends. You put the names of your friends. It's very easy to read the team. The professor number one, BI is Professor So. Second one is Professor So. The third one is from begin to wonder who's going to do the work. Professor don't stay loud about. So, but when there's an obvious grade, you see the professor, you see a senior lecturer, you see a lecturer one, you begin to discern who will actually be in the lab and who is giving leadership and who is giving management. A leader motivates, gives direction, and a manager actually see that things are done at the right time. It could be the same person playing the two roles, but the team that is high performing, there's an obvious role for everybody you see in the team. Therefore, the team has to be high performing because the reviewers will read it. Now, the methodology you have put forward has to be appropriate because if you want to do, I'll give you an example of methodology. If you want to do a combine two drugs and you are using methods that is obviously not going to give you a good combination, then it means that something is wrong. So your methodology has to be appropriate to answer the question. Your budget has to be appropriate. Maximum is 50 million. You should not be seen to be trying to get close to this 50 million just because that's what they said the maximum. Draw your budget and ask for what you need. Because it is obvious when you review the budget, when somebody is trying as much as possible to get as close to 50 million as possible. Not because the items you really need for the methodology has put ahead for you, which you know, just because he needs to fill it with a lot of things that are probably unnecessary. So you can make sure your methodology and your budget are appropriately fit. And the timeline. An obvious research that cannot be finished in 3 years, he said he will finish it in 1 year. If you have been in the wet lab in that research method, you know it's not doable. But the person who is asking for the grant says he's going to finish it in 1 year. So something is wrong somewhere. So that he doesn't know what he was
Waya uku ne ko? Kin gama mu? Shifon ne.
Zo ka rubuta ka je ka miƙa magana ya ƙare. Application for Lagos.
Wani kaya ne kuma?
Na ga material.
To an yi yara sun son material. Kamar lokacin da baban su an yi ɗinki ta yawa.
Pass. But if the whole thing starts and ends as a theory, well, it will be good, it may fit the team, but really doesn't give anything at the end of the day. That is really to showcase institution that is giving you this grant. And therefore, it may score very low.
Yes, in a minute.
All right. All right. These are the major reasons for failure. Methodology is not appropriate. Budget is not appropriate. Either it's too small or it is not too much. There are sites and softwares now for developing projects. You don't need to have a list of them. But once you just browse budget development sites, you will see sites that give you the correct pricing of many equipment that you cannot know. And that will be the way to help yourself since your equipment is the number of times. So I don't quote the price, because in one application, I quoted a price that the initial reviewer said it back that he has bought this equipment and it's almost 6 times the price I was quoting. But lucky for me, I had got in touch with the company and got a lot of discount, and I had the letter of discount. So I had to send it to them before they agreed that I really was going to buy that. Because if something they know is 30 million, say want to buy 10 million. Now something is wrong because he has bought this, I know the price. But I had a letter showing that I had negotiated with the company and they gave me a discount, and I had that letter. And that's what it is. So you need to have that. One of the reasons again research is not systematic is giving you a research that you don't know where he got that topic from. It is not innovative and cheap is poor. These are one of the main areas. Methodology is well known most of the scholars. So if the methodology is poor and you have a score and it has a late limit, that means, for example, you must score at least 15 in the methodology. Otherwise, every score is not important. So if you get the methodology wrong, then there's a problem. But then once it's over the limit by 1 naira, just 1 naira is off. You should not even assess it in some of the platforms. We are told not to even assess it if it's more than 1 naira beyond what budget. Can somebody move it for me then? Alright.
Yeah, Julian.
Don't move it. Can somebody move it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the key decision is this. At the end of the day, you must come at least 60% for the NRF to be considered at all. But that's not all of it. You must rank high in those as possible. Why? The reason is that at the end of the day, they will arrange all of those that score 60% from the highest to the lowest. And then they start allocating the money according to the budget. Where it finishes, that is it. So if a lot of people have 80 and above, by the time they got to the last 80, the money is finished. Anybody that got between that 60 and 80 cannot get. So you need to target to score very high. Although 60 is the minimum to be sponsorable, but in the actual allocation, it's taken from the top, and the money will be discounted as they go down. When it reaches the allocation for that year, that is where it stops. Even if that is 90, everybody that gets between 60 and 90 does not will not get the grant that year. So not getting the grant doesn't mean that proposal is bad. It doesn't mean automatically it does, maybe because it's ranked low among those that have gotten the grant that year. So a lot of high scorers. And after that, you also successfully end your project. And what they are looking for is mastery of the subject, and then the projects outline. Because they are going to ask you a lot of questions to know whether you master the subject very well, in case you run into problems in your proposal during the wetland. Suppose this happen, what will you do? Suppose this happen, what will you do? Everybody has done a lot of wetland, so that there are challenges that you don't anticipate. You will be versatile enough in that field to answer those challenges. And then, are you very conversant with the proposal of somebody writing and that you will check that mastery of that project. Have you mastered each of the components? Now, these are borrowed somehow from what Professor presented before, and this is really the structure of the application. That the project title. You have the executive summary where a lot of people use mark. Your executive summary usually has mark. It must contain justification, 1 mark, method, 1 mark. It will contain budget, outcome, and timeline. Any one of these that is missing a mark. So this executive summary will tell you what you must capture all these items. This is because the executive summary is supposed to be something somebody will just read and appreciate the project. So in all the components, there are marks allocated for items that need to be conversant with them. Then usually the outline must go like this: background of the side project, side objective, statements on the problem. These are all what we are conversant with, but the idea is how can you write a beautiful story? Can you write a story that is catchy? Can you manage the words in such a way that somebody will want to continue reading it? Or is it just hard science? And that is where knowing how to put a story down is very important. And now, to the side project. Now, most of the people that will be, let's say, what would be the age limit of assessors? It will be about 40 usually. So suppose I set a research background that 40% of people that are 40 years and above will have enough research time. 50% of 50 years and above will have it. By the time they reach 50 years, the 60 years, they will need to have something like cancer, and around 20% of Nigerian population will have that, and imagine 20% of Florida are something like. Meanwhile, the drugs we have are not effective, and if they are effective, they are too costly. I'm trying to find a solution for this. See, it catches. Why? Because the person will be doing it in private out of those people. And therefore, yes, but these are the things. So it catches. But if you are talking about something that is for sleeping, for example, it's good to be able to sleep, but it doesn't change as serious. God wants to discover a way to sleep. I want you to give you 50 million to do that. Because I'm not saying not a good design, but not a good design that will get money to give you money. So essentially, this is how all of them goes about. Research objectives. It has to fit with the objective of the research fund. And you must state it clearly. If it's too many, you will not be able to do it. People try to say not do more than 5 objectives, but I've gotten a grant with 12 objectives, but those objectives were clearly leading from one to the other. But it's not good to go to that, but put a graph. Statements of the problem, you need to state what the problem is that you are trying to solve, and why is it that this research that we solve it. Because although there are many ways to solve the problem, why is it yours? The conceptual framework of study, what is the concept that you're trying to prove? What is going to come out of this research? Actually, I said it's a product better. What is the impact on society? These are things you care about before you ask for money. These are routine ones, digital review, methodology, activity, time frame. I put it here to show you that not everyone has marks, everyone is important. To get 80%, you need to maximize what you score in all sessions. You can't gross over any session. It has to be important. You have to learn what is required. And one thing I did, at one time, I had to get a winning grant to see what I was getting wrong. I failed 5 times. I thought I was getting something wrong. I just looking at how winning grant showed me something. But also confirmed to me that I was not bad. Was better at this. So if you can have access to the winning grant, it's good. So that you read it and see How is it different from what you have solved? As I said, composition of society, which has already said here. What work have you done up to date? This time to show whether you can do work. Every research I've done and published is on autonomous medicine, and suddenly you want to do a research on herbal medicine. There's problem in that type of assessment. So have you gotten grants before? This is where the multiplier effect comes. You have had grants before, meaning that you can manage grants and keep it. So that you can win the grant, and you manage it. If you had 2 or 3 grants and had no problem, that means you can manage grants, and that is that you can learn. Again, group research, have you done group research before? Because group dynamics is very important in research, otherwise the group dynamics will break down and the research will run into problem. Again, the institution you want to do research, they have the materials. This is where equipment come in. If you want to buy too many equipment, they're trying to show that that institution does not have the capacity to run that research. So it must be that you make up equipment that are specific to that research, that even other equipment is there for this one, give them for this research. And again, you can get support from nearby institutions, helps, as you can foreign and technical support. The financial aspect of the project is what I discussed. The budget was justified. In the budgeting, the subcategory of the budgets have clear instruction of what is right for this category. Some ones, all of them. And then you must show approval by the ethical committee for what requires expertise. And then you need the rest of the approval finally. And again, you still ask yourself finally at the end of the day, after I put all of this down, don't give it to you. If your answer is still no, then you need to work on that proposal before solving. Thank you.
Please, another round of applause. Thank you very much, Professor Esmodello. I want to believe that you agree with me that these people are selected because they have experience. And as I also did say, we have tapped from the reservoir of his experience. And at some points, I was just laughing because the recent applications I had, I actually were finding the faults, which I am now attributing to lack of consultations to people with the vast experience to actually guide us. I would like to, at this juncture, plead to the speaker, please, at least for me, next time I want to apply, if I should consult with you to help me and see that some of the things I am actually applying for are truly guided. Thank you very much, sir. And with permission of Mr. Chairman, I think we don't have to waste much of our time. It's time to invite our second speaker of today, in person of Professor S.Y.B. Kura. Sir, you are welcome. Kura was born in Kura, in Zamfara State, and he attended his secondary school in Government Secondary School, Anka, from 1983 to 1988. He proceeded to College of Education here at Sokoto and graduated 1989 and graduated 1992. And fortunately, he graduated with distinction in education. Made him won prizes for up. He then later moved to Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, where he had BSc Political Science from 1994 to 1997. He also proceeded to have his master's degree in Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, where I want to announce that he scored a CGPA of 5.00 in 2000. This actually awarded him a PhD program in Birmingham, in the United Kingdom in 2008 to study his PhD. But initially, he was employed with the university as an assistant lecturer in 2002 and moved to senior lecturer in 2010. 6 years after his PhD, he recorded an outstanding research and publications where he published a lot of significant papers in acceptable journals, both nationally and internationally. He is a member of several committees within and outside the university. He once served as the Deputy Dean, Student Affairs in 2010, and he's the past immediate Director, Center for Peace. I also was able to consult with his friends, and the information I had, apart from academics, that he is magnanimous in his decision. He is also an epitome of humility. Some said he is a calm and collected personality. Some said he is simple, gentle, and easygoing. But they added a but that when touched, it began with a heart of a general. Professor S.Y.D. Kaura, you are welcome, and we have the opportunity to have you to give us this presentation on the selected. You are welcome, sir.
Professor Ezebello was able to take you through TetFund requirements. What I will do is not really to repeat what you have done, but to take you through the most technical aspects of writing a research proposal. And in my view, although Ezebello was able from his experience of winning several research grants, vis-a-vis the experience of TetFund research grants. My view is that some of us, technically speaking, don't know how to write proposal. And I will take you through that. And I'll try to share some of my experiences, especially how understanding the technical aspect of writing was significant to help you in what I want to predict your destiny. When you master the skill of writing a proposal and you submit your proposal, you should be certain. You should be absolutely certain that you are going to win. And coming from that background, to give you tips and guidelines on how to write winnable research proposal for grants. I think I can continue because I have my PowerPoint slide printed out. So I started by including a general introduction to argue that university is a scientific community, and it's one of the university. So it's one of those scientific communities that person, scientific community. The idea is that whatever we write to submit as a proposal, we are submitting it to wider scientific community. In that respect, ours should not be different. It should be properly into that scientific community. So scientific research is constantly anchored on logic. And this logic is very, very important. And some of the aspects of that logic that the law has provided. It's very important to understand the logic of how do we belong to that universal scientific community. In such a way that whatever we write is not really different. It can easily fit exactly into that community. So research proposal has become therefore the central feature of research work. Anywhere you are writing, masters, PhD proposal, then coming down to research grants. It means that no research Even undergraduate students, when you are about to supervise them, you ask them to submit their research proposal. Because this is very important. It gives us a guide, a hint of whether you have the capacity, whether you have the experience, whether you have the knowledge, to manage the money that is going to be given to you. So research proposal therefore has become very central, very fundamental to getting grants for independent research. This is very important for independent research. When you are a professor, you write a proposal, no one is supervising you. But the general assumption for those who are going to fund your proposal is that you have the capacity. You have the capacity to manage whatever money is going to be given to you. Incidentally, and very, very unfortunately, why many research proposals are often waiting, especially to access grants nationally and internationally, only very few of them actually successfully access that grant and afford. And this is very unfortunate. There is a lot of funds out there. That one is only a recent education in Nigeria. You can write MacArthur, several of them, especially in art and humanities. However, only very few individuals access such funds. Why? And this is the reason why I think university was very magnanimous enough to organize this kind of event so that we share knowledge and broad minds on how we can support ourselves in order to access this grant. So the failure generally emanates from the gross and pattern poorness of many of the research that we have. Right. I think in 14, when Ogro was appointed Secretary of TetFund, he said, professors in Nigerian tertiary institutions are poor. And this is true. To writing proposal which deprives the institution from accessing research grants. And one of the important features of our poor response to research funding, both locally and from international response, is very poor research proposal writing and our tertiary institutions. In advanced industrial societies, if you can't access a grant as a professor, I'll try to you like this. Because for you to continue to defend your job, to secure a job, you have to do everything that even though it is for your own benefit. And he arrived at this particular conclusion based on the fact that in 2014, for instance, about 879 research proposals was actually TetFund by over 200 public institutions. But only a insignificant number of 20 were qualified. And this is a serious problem. Only 20 of them. Similarly, in 2014, about 200 universities and polytechnics, and only 55 proposals was to access 50 million. So there is poor response. As professors, we don't try to start proposals, just allow to accept them. And on the other hand, the research proposals we write are often technically very poor. For instance, the NUC Secretary, you may remember, perhaps, for the correcting one that Secretary observed, stated that the national research grant 3 billion is such a small amount, was the amount for research in the last 4 years by TetFund. But only out of 3 billion, as at that time, only 266 billion was actually. So what you begin to ask, what are our universities actually doing? What are our senior colleagues and professors actually doing? So the problem is still for research proposals. And of course, our attitude to accept this research. So these limitations start at the background of, I'm very sure if I should go from the management, why feel it's necessary to organize this kind of, event in order for us to pass and address some of the problem. So what do we do? The aim of this is to explain fundamental techniques, and that is why I will go to the technical aspects, providing good and acceptable research proposal. This is to be understood within the broader domain of improving the capacity, our capacity, and capacity for our colleagues, especially the younger ones, to write and present excellent and winning research proposals. So I decided to structure my presentation in this order. We have already done this introduction. So what is the art and science of research proposal? Because my perspective actually is from arts and devices. What are the forms and types of research proposals? So that we should know what we are applying or what aspect of research proposal are we writing. What will be the structure? And this is why I will give more emphasis the structure and content of research proposal than we will. Writing is an art. Writing is an art. And I will still repeat, writing is an art. So if it is an art, you need to master how to do it. It's not different from Ernest Schwarzenegger being an actor. It's not different from, Alilu being an actor. You have to master. It's an art. You have to master it. You have to understand the mechanics of the art of doing the work, of practicing, of acting. You are acting when you are writing. It is process example, but it's different from what Alilu and other actors are doing, because you belong to the universal scientific community. So the art of your writing was beside it. The type proposal and therefore can be of the writers. If you write excellent research proposal, of course it has to be the funding you are applying. It represents you as a person. It shows who you are. And no organization will give you a grant on the basis of your caricature writing. No. And the members of the organization even hire experts to assess your research. So those who are assessing your research proposal are not sitting together with you to ask you questions to explain. No, your research proposal will explain who you are and what you want to do. And this is very important. They demonstrate what we are philosophically, not what we ought obviously to do. And writing a research proposal, therefore, for competition is an act that is quite different from the ordinary research that you write papers for. You can write anything and go to the conference and present what you want to present. But write a research proposal for competition, you are competing. Even if you are competing in Sokoto University, how many professors do we have? How many academic do we have in Sokoto University? You are competing, even locally you are competing, not talk of nationally. And when you are competing from Sokoto, you are sending your proposal. You remember you are competing from professor from Ibadan, professor from University of Lagos, Ensuka, and others. You are competing. And this you have to do at the back of your mind. And because when you know you are competing, you have to exact all sense of seriousness that is required. So committee will have to deliberate, choose among proposals that possess three key virtues. One, conceptual education, which I'm very sure Professor Elvino has. Conceptual innovation. So when you say innovation, it means you have to think outside the box. You assume hundreds of professors that are applying, this is how they are likely to think and submit. But you have to think outside their own thinking. You have to think outside the box. So that whatever idea you are proposing should be prepared. That this is really something new is coming. I was given an example, assuming from the art and humanities, we did a proposal on poverty. Just ask me to submit proposal on poverty. The general expectation is that you submit proposal on what are the causes of poverty. When you submit proposal like this, you remember that thousands of people are likely to submit on the causes of poverty. So you have to think outside the box. But you should come down to say, okay, if this is my expectation, the question that will be innovative and robust is for me to ask, how does poverty affect children's schooling, for instance? How does poverty affect childhood, child get education? This is very true. And outside all the proposals you submitted, your own is now distinct and elevated. The second issue is methodological rigor. And this is also very important. That's what Kelly mentioned that it attracts lots of mass protesters. Methodological rigor is very important. And there is no excuse here. Whether you are in Hausa, you are in English, methodological rigor is explicitly key. And a lot of us are allocated to methodology. And unfortunately again, based on experience, we should get to that. Up to today, across art and humanities, we have reduced our methodology to primary data collection and data collections. The world has gone beyond that. The scientific community in the world has gone beyond primary and secondary sources of data. So you have to improve your knowledge on methodology, then rich and substantive content of your portfolio. These are very fundamental, virtues that are used to assess various proposals that are submitted, not only to TetFund, but to all research funded agencies. So even though the style, taste, and texture of form and organization of research may differ from history, may differ from science, political science, public admin, English, Hausa, and so on. All proposals address three critical questions, and obviously which take to answer. So when you are writing proposal, apart from the three major areas where you are researching in that state, you have to also know that whatever proposal you are writing must address these three fundamental key questions. And what are they? What are to be learned? What new things are you innovating? What new thing is your proposal bringing to us? And what is really radically means significantly what is different from all the other things that people have known. So why is it worth knowing? Why is it necessary for us to know this? Why is it necessary for us to know this? For example, during the pandemic last year, certain people have submitted, you should obviously know that certain people will submit proposal related to the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. But related to this, and many people will submit maybe causes how does it affect individuals. But one research team submitted a proposal that simply asks the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on people. No one will think about this. People decide how does pandemic affect their livelihood. And this is very critical and fundamental. So this is the new thing that we want to do from the general proposal that we have submitted to TetFund on COVID-19, social aspects of COVID-19 pandemic. How does it affect people with disabilities? And we will assume the number of people that submitted is insignificant. But it's very significant because it is telling us that probably government has even forgotten about it. But how has the pandemic, affected them? So why is it worth knowing? And even what the troubles and what the trouble of giving? Why would TetFund give you the money to do that? PWD is a very significant population, not only in Nigeria but all over the world. And you will find even in employment policies, in advanced industrial society, certain percentage of employment are reserved for PWD. So it means that this research is going to shed light on policy that relates to PWD. How will we know that the conclusions are valid and acceptable? And this brings you back to your methodology. Only your data, only the data you collect will give you the conclusions. And whether those conclusions will be valid will be on the basis of the data. And this is also why methodology is very significant, very important. So the idea of the proposal, therefore, is to provide a scientific no more knowledge. scientific framework for conducting a piece of research exercise. For example, Logan argues that the point of departure for good research proposal requires addressing two questions. What do we know and what are we going to? It's only when these two questions have been answered that we can ask, obviously, that how are we going to? And this is very fundamental to methodology. So researchers must be good craftsmen, must be good artists, must be good artists. Whatever you are writing, whatever you are proposing to undertake, it's an art. It's just like a carpenter. That is not what you are now drawing the concept of what you are going to execute. So researchers have to be good craftsmen, infusing and seducing style. Because assessors are going to be your proposal. And you want to convince them that this proposal is excellent now to be funded. Intelligence, logic, and acceptable structure in research process. So, what do we mean by research proposal? It's a plan of actions. It's a plan of action. And what action? Piece of research, piece of project you are going to undertake. Sometimes 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, which I think is maximum for TetFund. It presupposes a detailed plan of what an individual plans to do and order to do concerning the particular project. So a research proposal, therefore, is an output project. It is a document that deals with the basic questions of what, how, why, and even where are you going to conduct research. Research proposal tells what will be done about a particular piece of research project. So a research proposal, therefore, is an architectural design. And you are submitting together with several others your own design. And expert will sit down and analyze critically the design in order to see whether it will be funded. Design or building structure. A poor design produces a poor building that cannot stand. Obviously, Nigeria is very good at this. Many buildings have been corrupted. This one was in Lagos that killed several individuals. It means even from the concept, the whole idea of the concept, is wrong. So you don't want to start a project that only at the long run, it will collapse. You can't even execute. So it easily collapses to a certain outcome. The outcome of a research proposal, therefore, is not to a collapsing building structure. The outcome will be devastating to an individual personality, no research grant, no scholarship, and no advancement in career, especially in advancing the social society. The sum total of this is stagnation and, unfortunately, eventual collapse. So a research proposal, therefore, is an opportunity for every one of us. Independent critical thinking and analysis. Independent critical thinking and analysis. Excellent communications of ideas, because you are communicating with the scientific community. So it's a plan for you. It is a model that allows what you want to do, why you want to do it, how you want to do it, what do you expect to find, and a plan that shows your ability. And this is also very important. That shows your ability, your capacity to actually deliver. What? And that is why when you apply for research, it's good to be honest. It's good to be honest, especially in terms of your work. It's good to be honest. And as we mentioned, if you don't know the price of materials, go and find out what they are. Go and find out what they are. So that you don't put airport, which is being sold now, I think 1,005, you are going to buy a airport at 6,000. And this, the people that are assessing your proposal know the price. Some of them will even double check. They will call and find out what is the price of so much. And when you exaggerate, they know that this guy is not serious. This guy is not serious. Not only 8 hours. So these are types of solicited research proposal. This is what TetFund is doing. Every year it asks us to submit our research proposal. It's being solicited. Then there are also unsolicited research proposals. They simply advise and you apply. Pre-proposal, continuation or non-proposal. You started your work and the money is finished. And that granting agency can no longer provide you money. Then you apply to other organizations to help you fund and continue that research. Renewal or competing research proposal. So grant proposal, which I will be much detailed. It's not different in principles and characteristics from any other grant proposal. However, there are many difference between the two is that the motivation and the reason for the presentations of the proposal and audience are absolutely different. So the best way to start is to know the wishes and requirements of the granting agency, which Escobello has explained in detail about TetFund. What is the wish of TetFund? What are their requirements? He has leveled so much to explain that to us. This will help you understanding the agency's guidelines. Escobello has also mentioned those guidelines. If you need more detail, you can visit TetFund website. And I think TetFund has been very, very generous to Nigerian academics, probably from its experience in the past. In the past, they only asked you to submit a concept note. They started with asking you to submit a detailed proposal. You spend the month writing a proposal only for it to be rejected. They said, okay, this time around we will not do that. We will ask you to submit initially, ask you to submit a concept note of not more than so number of pages. They did that also. You simply submit an email. Sometimes you have to even call to check whether your email has been received or it has not been received, because you know the attitude of Nigeria. We are eager to see our response, and so that we respond to our emails will take a look at them. So sometimes you have to even pick the number and call. Did you receive my concept? But this one again decided to extend that. I think from beginning from last year or thereabout. They said, okay, you submit online. You submit now online. And that is also very important to us. And very important, but again, if we are not serious, we will not get it. Because even though last year, when they said they are closing and so days and time they did it, they still added, I think, 2 or 3 days. Because they know the character of Nigeria. If you are applied outside, when they say 20 days, even 1 second you add, the process is closed. So you have to understand the wishes and requirements, of the granting agency. Before starting to write a grant proposal, it is very important for us to have 5 right grant agencies. If you are not applying for TetFund, look into various sources of information, such as online, news magazines, newsletters, government departments, and so on and so forth. Conduct a background research. TetFund is very generous. But if you are applying for another granting agency, conduct a background research and literature review of the subject, which are often time-consuming. Allow adequate time for both preparation and writing. And unfortunately, again from experience, many of us that want to apply for TetFund, we will only begin to think about applying when TetFund release the call for concept notes. So we crash. And remember, we have enormous amount of work on our decks. But we crash. And when you crash, obviously you should know that your research proposal will not get it. Ensure that your idea is good, innovative, and topical, and appropriate to the funding agencies' goal and objectives. Discuss your proposal with colleagues. We more often than not hide what we write. Perhaps because we are senior lecturers, or because we don't want our colleagues to identify mistakes in our proposal. Or as proposal we write and hide our proposal, and we simply say, and it will come back. Because as a writer, you only write. Sometimes a spelling mistake, even if you are reading a proposal hundreds of times, you'll never see it. But if you can call your undergraduate student, actually for you. We have professors that told us outside this community. They call their undergraduate students or undergraduate and give their proposal to them. That one person that is using for a proposal, he is not reading it. He is only reading it to identify that. He is only reading it to identify that because of human beings. So give it to your undergraduate, give it to your postgraduate. If you don't want to give it to your body, they will help you to distill, to identify those minor errors that are very important before they take you out. So discuss your proposal with colleagues and with funding agencies where there is significant. Be scientifically sound in writing the proposal. Study very well the topic and request for proposal from the agency. Study very well. And this is why when you are going to defend the proposal, they will ask you questions, very fundamental questions, to test your knowledge of the subject matter and to test whether you understand the methodology. Make an outline and review it carefully. Consider very carefully issues of personnel, which Elvelo has mentioned about the team, money, which is about the budget, equipment that you are buying, even the time. He mentioned that a result that you can finish in 3 years, you say you are going to finish in 1 year. You know, the funding agency will know that this guy is so serious. How do we give our money to this man? And several other very fundamental issues. Consider also how the research work will fit into your overall primary assignment. And this is also key, so that you don't hide under the background of you having a research grant that you don't go to class, you don't want your scripts. Whatever you are proposing to them, make sure that it can fit into your areas of primary assignment. Check also with your employer to determine your work requirement and other conditions. Review the granting agency guidelines. That's a bit last one. Devise a schedule and set personal deadlines for studying the literature, completing the first draft, getting it reviewers, revising, developing a final document, and meeting the submission deadline. Don't wait until when it is the last day to submit. Because if the submission is online, again, obviously, you will try to access it, your internet is not working. It's not the granting agency's problem, it's your own problem. And there's no way you will communicate to them that my internet doesn't work. In scientific community, we don't accept anyone. We don't accept anyone. We don't accept anyone. So if you have to finish your proposal in good time and begin, sometimes the proposal submission would be piecemeal. Submit this by so time, and when we accept them, come back and it's very tedious. And as I said, you have no excuse whatsoever to say my internet has actually failed. Or make sure that your computer is antivirus free. It's virus free. Sometimes the document you are submitting, by the time you submit, is completely corrupted. Some agencies will allow you to review. After finishing the submission, they will allow you to review. You see exactly what you have uploaded before you finally submit. By the time you come to do that review, you will find several columns are now empty. Why? Because probably the limit of what that's supposed to be in that column, you have overshoot them. And when you overshoot the column, even by one letter, that column will automatically reach. Those of you that have submitted to TetFund last year will have experienced what I've mentioned. Each column has limit of number of words or character. Some agencies will say character. So even full stop, even comma is a character, and that's how the computer will read it. That's how the computer will read it. So this is the reason why you need to start arguing. But if you wait until when it is deadline, obviously you will. Obviously you will. Set personal deadline for studying literature, completing the draft, getting the reviews, revising, developing final document, and meeting the submission deadline. Generally, there's no agreed structure, but TetFund was very generous again to provide a structure or outline or framework for some proposal. For different funding agencies, we have different requirements. Of course, some will provide. The request for research proposal agencies do stipulate clearly their specific requirement, their structure, and their framework. And TetFund was also very generous to say, even when you are designing the budget, this is the structure of the budget. So percentage of budget should go for personnel, should go for honorarium, should go for equipment, so that you don't go beyond the limit. Otherwise, even from the budget, many of us will fail. And agencies also will provide an online application. Many agencies today provide online submission guidelines through which proposals are submitted. So body ethics also, on their call or request for proposal, do provide guidelines on order and length of inspections of the proposal which I have already mentioned. Information to be included, size, spacing, margin. These little details are very important because each of these aspects has scoring. Each of these aspects is scored. So what one side they accept? Probably they will tell you Times New Roman. And because you are very big, you say Calibri, isn't it? And you put automatically is rejected. Because thousands and thousands of proposals are used. So don't expect reviewers to waste their time over these minor problems. They will not waste. Once they see that you didn't comply, they will simply keep it aside. Some will not even respond to you to tell you why your proposal is rejected. Some will not even do that. They don't have time. So grant applicants must comply with every requirement. Grants are usually extremely confidential, and the research one is one of them. It's extremely confidential. So every requirement is important. Proposals are often knocked down over those issues taken for granted. We should not take them for granted. They are very important. Internal forms are based on the following criteria: originality and scientific merit or benefit. Originality. This is very important. You have to be original in your thinking, you have to be original in your submission, and you have to be original, in your writings. Importance to the discipline or significant to the problem under review. Rationale or justification and methodology. Experience and qualifications of researchers. Experience and qualification. This is very important also. No research, no granting agency will ask you to submit a proposal without asking you to submit your, even if it is a short CV, you have to submit a short CV. And you have to learn the technique of writing and submit a short CV. Some will say we only need a one-page CV, and your CV is probably 50 pages. How do you reduce that 50 pages to 1 page? And that is the requirement. So experience and qualifications of researchers, budget, facilities and time required, adherence and adherence to guidelines, some of which we have already mentioned. Feasibility and doability of that research, whether it is actually feasible for you to conduct that research. It's also part to give focus on the tactical issues. What am I trying to find out? How am I going to do this? Why is this work doing? So this is the structure. Whether you are applying for TetFund or not, or you are applying for grants in any agency, even if they didn't give you the structure, even if they didn't give you. So just last month, one US funding agency only provided over paper for $15,000 for $15,000 research grant. And specifically they said people from Africa. But they didn't provide any structure. So they allowed you to maneuver and provide your own structure. So it's always very important that when you are submitting a research proposal for funding, even if there is no requirement or call for structure, try to provide one. And we try to, this is not really applicable to everything, but at least just provide a general guide. Title, fate, and executive summary. Title, fate is very important, which will contain title of the work, name of those who are going to do the work, and executive summary and abstract. Purpose or hypothesis and specific objectives. Significance and justifications of the study. View of literature. Research methodology. Discussions of possible outcomes. Time frame, budget, and curriculum by view of the research. And reference. This is very important. And don't take this for granted. We'll explain further what we mean by reference and bibliography. Because some of the people that are going to review a proposal, you have already cited them. And if you write their name wrong, you are true. Title and requirement. The title of the research proposal is important and it indicates specific area of study. This should be stated in few words. You don't want to have a title that will have 20 or 24 or 25 words in the title. Before the reviewer finishes reading the title, he's already lost. A very good proposal is one that will have very few words, that will have at least one line, 2 lines. It should be concise and point to the hypothesis and reflect. So that even from the title, you know what the guy is going to do. You know the kind of question he's going to ask. You know the kind of hypothesis he's going to formulate. Working title is primarily important at this point. And clear direction to answer elements. So it permeates. The working title is supposed to permeate from the beginning up to your conclusion, references, and bibliography. Avoid generalities and abstractions in the statement of working title. In addition, working title may change over the course of the proposal. By the time you begin to consult with the title, you can come back to our working title and revise it. But try to keep the title very short, reasonably short. Keep it as short as less than 2 words. Start the title with the key words of research. And that is why it is technical. It's very technical. And this is the reason why when you write, try to give it to another person to help you read it. Do not include exploration to ask the art and humanities, an exploration or an investigation or an aspect. When these are not needed. Some of these words are redundant. They add nothing in your research in the title of your proposal. Avoid it. The title page, on the other hand, represents the cover page, which provides names of principal researchers and their address. And you have to use it. You have to also clearly, explicitly, set your address and your contact. Date of submission, committee, or funding agency. Sometimes it's needed like this. Especially where the funding agency didn't provide online submission. Then it's given to somebody. How do you write that? What are the requirements to give to somebody? This is a summary of the research proposal stated in abstract form. Not more than. Some will give you not more than so number of words. Probably 200 or 300 or 150. And it should not exceed that. If it is online, as I said earlier, it will be rejected. Automatically, the online submission will reject that. Abstract are essentially an explanation summary of what, why, and how of research, which shall contain the following issues: aim of the work, rationale for doing it, the methodology to be used, hypothesis, and of course, expected outcomes. Outcomes, not outline. Expected outcomes. Introduction. The introduction provides an important opening to research, and this is very important. Some of us, because we are been able to a lot of work, in the introduction we begin to have grammatical problems or spelling mistakes. Grammatical problems. We have the same proposal where in the first paragraph, in the first sentence there is a mistake. And you should know that obviously this will be rejected. It should straightforwardly indicate the subject matter of research, its scientificity and rationale. It may include a brief literature review, a brief account of any primary research already done on the topic and statement of the importance of research. It includes aim of research justification, important concepts, the setting in which the study will take place, the boundaries that people the study, statement of research, and so on and so forth. So how do you state the problem? And this is also very important. This is the next important stage in research proposal. Research proposal is an intellectual stimulus calling for a response in the form of scientific inquiry. And you have to link together the problem that you are research seek to address. This is also associated with objectives of research questions and hypotheses. Hypothesis here, as we all know, refer statement of assumptions to be proof or disproof, especially in social science. The justification or rationale or significance of the study is critical to the overall research proposal. So in other words, it permeates the entire proposal from the title to the conclusion with an appeal, very important, with an appeal for approval and with the evidence that the project adequately funded. The important guidelines for writing justification is reason and logic, preliminary research has already been done, scientific principles, research by author that has already been done in this area, feasibility of the method that you are going to use, use of benefit from the result, and worthwhile use of time, money, and effort. The literature review, means it is a summary of the current state of knowledge. And I think this is also why we have problems. Many of us do not access current knowledge. And I always say there is a knowledge gap. There is a knowledge gap of nearly 15, 20 years. What the other side of the world are doing is far more ahead than us. So we confine our thinking. The only way you understand our knowledge is to constantly look at the journals, current publications of the so that you obtain your knowledge, so that the knowledge you give is what that will match with the nature of the current scientific thinking. It is a sharply focused review of the state of the research, state of the current, state of the knowledge of the area where you're. And this is very important. You have to write books, you have to read new published books and newly published journals. Methodology justify the scientificness of your study and its expected outcomes. It was specified research operation, experimentation, materials, which is the data you are going to collect, and method of collecting that, and the procedure of collecting that data, and how you are even going to analyze the data. Today there are some ways. Like even Hausa and English, you can use software to analyze, your data. Research methodology should also indicate approach philosophical paradigms, research design, sample and sample procedures, ethics, and these are also very important. Justify all items of methodology, element and procedure to avoid. In art and humanities, we don't enter laboratory, except probably in English where you go to the language lab. But we don't go to the laboratory. So it means we are going to the field. And you have to justify every aspect of your methodology. Where possible, indicate the limitation of each aspect of your methodology and how such limitations will be addressed as to not jeopardize the credibility of your research findings and results. Methodology, therefore, is an important aspect that links off the literature review, the time you are going to spend, the budget, and the justifications of every aspect of your research process. Conclusion. This summarizes the entire research proposal. We don't have to waste our time here because I have only 5 minutes. The references, these are very important. How do we list our references? Write this very carefully. Some of the reviewers, as I said earlier, may be authors of work in science. And this is very, very important. If you wrongly write, the person who is going to assess your proposal, you write it wrongly, then you should know that you will not take it lightly. You will not take it lightly. Be sure to avoid unnecessary mistakes and omissions. This will not be taken lightly by reviewers. Too many errors can damage or destroy the chance of proposal being considered. Proposals are eliminated on the basis of any careless, I still repeat, any careless error. Proposal will be simply. So be mindful to avoid this careless. But the agency to provide framework and open specify how budget should be presented, and SOL has mentioned. Do not ask for too much. Do not ask for too much. Whatever you are going to ask, make sure that you can justify. You can justify scientifically. You can justify that. You can honestly justify that, and that's very, very important. We need to be very honest. You can honestly justify whatever you ask. Don't be greedy. Many of us, unfortunately, are like that. Many of us are like that. Even where we have a very big team, we draw a team as professors, we create colleagues, younger ones. By the time we get the grant, we don't follow. Strictly, we don't follow what we have budgeted for each individual. Because these are younger colleagues, our younger colleagues. We try to reduce what we are doing. That is greatness. And that destroys your personality as a researcher. It destroys your personality. Or you have budgeted that I want to give so person people 100,000. You reduce that to 30,000 or 50,000. That's greatness. Many of us, people of police are following you. And this is very serious. Only that because we find ourselves in this part of not reports. That is all we don't get this kind of information. But this is true. So we should not be too greedy. Whatever you budget, remember you are training. Some of us are professors, we are training them. And whatever you demonstrate is what they will put. So we should not be too greedy. Whatever we write in budget, everyone will get this. That's very important. When you have budgeted that you are buying an Apple computer, only for you to come back to buy HP. When you are buying a HP computer of someone, only for you to come back and repeat that amount. That is cheating. And that is dishonesty. That is dishonesty. So do not ask for too much. Be realistic and honest. This is very important. Many of our such proposals are being knocked out because we are not honest. Because we are not honest. So we check on the cost of each item or instrument and materials to be important. Wrong, dishonest, and unrealistic budget instantly gives the such proposal and destroy your image and professional reputation. In writing the budget, be accurate, provide reasonable estimates, include salaries, honorarium, supplies, publication costs, travels and accommodation to collect sample data, build up training and professional meetings, including some foreign agencies want you to even the recharge card that you use to make phone calls, you need to get social recharge card that you load into your mobile and attach them when you are retired. So this is very important. But what makes this cooperative? Even the money you use, you get the receipt. The receipt you use to buy food for your car if you are working for people. All this helps you to protect your image, to protect your professional, style. Including fund-based, indirect costs and institutional charges. The TetFund allocates 5% as institutional charges. That is the exact grant we secure. The funding agency was generous enough to give the university 15% of that. So we are giving the university 15% of nearly 100,000. And that is a lot of money for the university. It's the funding agency that put this campaign. So these are very important, but I always emphasize that let us be honest. For a grant proposal, update your curriculum, update your curriculum right. Because they need it. Let the CV speak of your capability and professional expertise to undertake the research. Get forms of CVs from experts who have been winning grants and getting funding from agencies. Get their format of CV and try to follow that. And finally, the third proposal is very important. It is a contractual undertaking. It's you and the funding agency. It's a contractual. Under normal circumstances, if you fail to do that, the contract agency can take you to court. And you have to report all the money they give you. It's a contractual undertaking and must be taken seriously. It is often difficult to write. It requires time for preparation, revision, and review. When writing the first proposal, be ready for any outline as hundreds of proposals are rejected, often or minor. But always be positive. So writing a good and winning research proposal with a good predictable destiny. You can predict what I will do. It's predicated on communication and on continuing characteristics of all proposals that were made effectively these characteristics of a good research proposal. So still writing a good proposal takes a long time. Start at that one is very good because you are sure that every other one will propose for submission. Start at so that all your concepts are ready before even they start doing the form. Begin thinking about something well in advance and always collect relevant references while and other tasks for aside. Write the first draft well in advance of the deadline, at least 2 to 3 months. Revise it, give it to colleagues to read for you, but do not bother about one for this. And finally, if you have a chance, share it with a seminar or similar group. The debate shall help you anticipate what reviewers will eventually ask. Revise the text again for substance. Go over the language, go over the language, go over the language, and go over the style, and go over the style. Reshuffle your opening paragraph. This is very important. The opening paragraph will help, will determine whether the reviewers will. And that is very important, and that is key. So that it drives up exactly what you as effectively as possible. Can you go to the last slide? I think I can stop here. That's so in this way, one advances strongly in terms of success and of controlling this for her destiny. You can control your destiny. Five in terms of reading the time. Writing research proposal is strategic predicts their destiny. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From SYB Kura, a round of applause, please, again to our speaker. And I think we have learned a lot. There should be no comments on his presentation, as much have actually been taken from cover to cover. And in order to wrap up all these two presentations by two speakers, the committee also felt it's very, very important that we have someone who will come in and talk about roles of multidisciplinary teamwork in assessing this research grant. And for that purpose, we have the honor of inviting Professor A.B. Muhammad, who is the chairman of PTDF in Stanford University, Sokoto, who has also been selected as qualified because recently he also won a grant from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons from the Netherlands. So you are welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm not actually the chairman of the PTDF. That is a PTDF chair, the Full Chemistry Chair of Fire, hosted on the Department of Blood and Biochemistry. I'm not going to take a lot of your time, inshallah, because I know time is already against us. Quickly, last week about this time, I was attending a conference, and as part of that activity, somebody made a presentation, and which I liked so much. He made this presentation of utilizing some of the waste generated from biogas for agricultural activities, and he showed very nice, beautiful pictures of plants that were fertilized with this biofertilizer, and they were flourishing very well. It was clear, the data was clear of the importance of utilizing those biofertilizer for the plants. And then when I look at the presentation, and I saw, apart from his name and some other colleagues, I saw somebody from civil engineering. I was wondering what was somebody in civil engineering doing in that paper. So, but then I wanted to ask a question. Particularly what drew my attention in the presentation, apart from that, was I saw he replicated the experiments, and but the problem was he did not do any statistical analysis. He just calculated the mean and then the standard deviation. So I was wondering, how can you compare different groups without the right statistical test? So I asked that question after his presentation, and what happens was, I asked him, don't you know how to do this? He didn't know. So I said, but you have people in statistics. Why is nobody from statistics in the research team? And Obviously, there was nobody in statistics. And then I asked him, what was your background? And he said, physics. And I was confounded. He said, okay, physics. So why is there anybody in agronomy or in plant science, botany, or somebody in the team? And there was somebody in the team. And that hit me a lot. That why should someone go into a research like this that requires a lot of input from people with different expertise, and yet he did not appreciate the need to get those people on board so as to improve the quality of research. And this is very common. We do have this very common. We tend to think in isolation. We tend to think like we know everything. And because of that, we are always ready to design our own research and carry it out without getting people involved. Thinking as if when you get people involved into the research, they are going to take away some of the credits from the research. And I personally tend to think that is because somebody is more or less thinking about himself rather than solving the problem. Societal problems are multidimensional. You can't, often you don't have a problem that is only, you say, is only particular to chemistry. It's only chemistry. You can only solve that problem from the chemistry perspective. If that problem, solution to that problem will be of significance to the society, then there must be some other aspects of knowledge that contribute to solving that problem. So that is why we need, as a matter of necessity, to think deeper and get involved with other people in our research. Hence the need of collaboration. And I think for many years, this university has that in mind. If you look at the way we compose our research, postgraduate research teams, supervisory teams, normally it is required by the PG guideline that if some people come from the department, another person has to come from outside the department. And the idea is that somebody is coming from a different discipline to give a different perspective to the research and therefore making it better. But when we write for books, we don't take that into consideration. Collaboration is very, very important, and there are many different types of these collaborations. In this particular talk, I have asked to speak about disciplinary research, where, and if you look at it technically, what they said was disciplinary, you have people from different disciplines, and they tend to solve a particular problem from the perspective of their disciplines. But then we also do have another one, which is interdisciplinary research. In this case, the whole thing is integration. The integration of data and information from different disciplines in order to solve that problem. And now, so we move from just multidisciplinary to interdisciplinary, which is a higher level, but higher level where they call convergence research. And this normally must have a societal value, and normally this kind of research is deep in terms of its collaboration, in terms of its integration of different disciplines, and also often takes place around the fringes of the various disciplines, and often may come up with new fields of knowledge. Even though also they can have something with respect to material research. There are a lot of benefits for us to get into this. And many people have outlined a lot of the benefits. I will just go over them quickly. Number one is there is division of labor. You don't do everything yourself. This one will do that, that one will do that, that one will do that. You have the botanist into the team, the botanist will take care of the botany aspect. So you have a chemist into the team, chemist will take care of the chemistry aspect of the research. And all this data and information are put together in order to analyze and evaluate the problem, the solution to the problem. And often also another advantage is you tend to have positive criticism. Once somebody is into the team, he has a stake in that team. So he will always contribute positively to making sure that the whole endeavor is a success. Another thing is you have access to resources that you may not have if you are not into collaborative and this kind of research. Because maybe you have these resources, that resources, but other places we have other resources that we don't have. We don't have LCMS. If I collaborate with somebody from ABU, they have LCMS. They have access to that machine, which I don't have access to here. And often also collaboration, this kind of collaboration allows you to go deeper into something, not to differentiate, to go deeper into something. So in chemistry, for example, if we are looking at it, for example, we say, okay, we are interested in how does the chemical affect this plant or affect this animal or what have you. But then if somebody from the biotechnology section will look at how are the genes expressed, you go deeper. And by going deeper, then the possibility is that you also have more qualitative research outputs, and in addition, also more publications. So there are disadvantages as well. And the chances also of getting patents is much higher when you get yourself in this kind of research. And often also, it helps you to attract funding. I don't know. I'll be very surprised if there are research grants today that you can apply solely on your own. And then there must be people, other people into it. Sometimes it is part of the requirement. In fact, if you don't have other people into it, you will not do it. Because you cannot, it's just natural, you cannot address the problem. And what happens if you die? Who will take up the research? Will the research just die out? So it helps you to attract funding. It also helps you personally because you expand your network. You know people. If I collaborate with somebody from another university, I know that person. Or from outside the country, I know that person. And what happens even at the end of that project, if another project comes, he from his own side, he may invite me to do that. So you expand your network. You also expand your knowledge. And that's general whenever you interact with people from different backgrounds. You expand your knowledge. Sometimes you ever sit down in a meeting with some people and you learn from the way they conduct meetings. Talk less of when you are sharing knowledge, perspectives, and experiences. And there is also minimization of risks. Minimize the risks. The fact that the project will die when you die, or somebody dies, some other people. Now, quickly, how do you initiate it? Now, we basically know how do you initiate this kind of research. By the way, often collaboration can be within your department with other members of staff, or within your institution, involving other people from other departments, or from outside your institutions, involving other people from outside the institution, maybe within the country, or from internationally, involving other researchers from other countries. But what is most important and fundamental is that, as mentioned by Professor Isobelo and others before me, there must be a role for each member of the research team. You just don't put someone because you just want to put him there. He must play a key role in the course of that research. And that nobody is often in some international research that you apply that has clearly spelled out who is going to do what. who is going to do what. So every member of the team must have a clearly spelled out task in the course of that research for that person to be part of the research team. So to initiate it, basically, normally any research normally arises from a particular person. In most cases, I have an idea, I observe a particular problem, I want to search on that problem, try to solve that problem. Then you share the idea maybe with another person that is closer to the area to you, and then you brainstorm and then you come up with that. Then at the end of the day, when you have a clear statement of the problem, drive out your objective, your research questions, and then your objectives, and then you now look to achieve this or to answer these research questions or to achieve these research objectives. Who are likely, but what expertise do we need to solve this problem? This person, Professor One or Dr. One has this has this. Then you now invite them to share and then further discuss the problem and then modify or update the research questions accordingly. So you identify your collaborators, who are the potential collaborators. Sometimes there are people you know, sometimes there are people you don't know. So that's what I do personally is, even if I don't know, maybe from the publications, I have seen somebody who is very good in that area. I'll just send him an email. I have this problem, and this. No, you don't go deep anyway, but you give him the general idea, and then I want whether you will join me as part of this research. And often you may have, yes, I will be happy to join you. You have never met, but you get him on board. So you identify people maybe from the publications, or sometimes even from searching the internet, searching various departments or universities where these researches are going on, scholars are going on. You invite somebody and you will try to convince him to join you. Once he joins you, then you share the rest of the day. Then develop a plan for communication. There must be a way in which you continuously. That's very important because collaboration is about sharing ideas, knowledge, getting things together. I mentioned tasks, assignment of tasks to members. This assignment of tasks must be time bound. You must be able to say this task is going to be done by so person and should be completed by so date. And everybody must be aware of this and take it accordingly. And as the PI, who is the overall coordinator of the whole activities such, you must be able to manage these tax activities that happen during the research. Issues of collection of the data, where is the data going to reside? Who is going to have access to that data? Is very, very important. Issues of confidentiality, so that you don't generate data and the members of the team will go and share the data with other people that are outside. All these are key things that must be clearly spelled out in the collaboration. Otherwise, you will end up doing the work and then it is before you ever publish it, some other people will publish it. And quickly, to get people, often to get people to join you into this kind of collaboration. Often here now, once you invite somebody, you put it into the group. But let's say if you want a person who is knowledgeable in that area, who is an expert in the area, and who is highly committed, such kind of people are very, very committed. Other researchers, there must be something for him. If there is nothing for him, he must outrightly reject. So you must maybe look at his publication and draw out something that is of interest to him and then pitch it up with the research to be able to get him on board and share from his wealth of experience. Other things that you have to also take into consideration is the issue of authorship. You may have seen many publications where people are talking about who is going to be the first author, who is going to be the second author. People, sometimes even people fight. I think I should be the first author. This the student or the PI or the what have you. This right at the beginning can be spelled out. Who authorship of publications. How is it going to be? It is very important, as I mentioned earlier, you communicate. But this communication also you should take minutes. You have to take minutes. Okay, we agreed on this, we agreed on this, and this is the update, this is the presentation. After 2 months, there's going to be a presentation to see the progress that has been done. And then after the presentation, we have a general discussion. What are the problems? What are the way outs? What is going to be done next? All these are recorded and are shared as part of minutes of the meeting. And then the PI will follow it up to make sure these things are done. And then in the next round of meeting, presentations are going to be made with respect to the progress that has been done since last meeting. And all this will be designed according to milestones. You have to put in milestones. After 2 months, this is what we achieve. Must have concretely get to this point. After another 3 months or 4 months, so that the research remains on track. Because often grant agencies, when they give you grants, what they do, they give you time, is time bound. You have to do this and finish it within 1 year or 2 years. That's what I want to just say with respect to issues of collaboration. I have one or two comments to make, and also a suggestion to make, maybe to the members of the higher table, particularly those that are involved in review. One of the key things I think that has not to be mentioned, which is also very important in any research when you apply, the issue of, apart from the nature, the expertise of the team, gender inclusiveness is very important. Many grant agencies, they give that very important consideration. That gender inclusiveness in the research team is important. So I'm not saying that you have to get the opposite gender into the team by all means, but by means of expertise who is expertise. But if you get that, that's good. It is very good in chemistry department and in CASLAB. I will advise, if you want to get into this, form a team. Sometimes this team may not be like a collaboration per se for the research, but a team where you sit down and review your submissions. In the chemistry department, what we did last year is all those that have developed concept notes. We had a meeting for about several days, and we projected all the concept notes, and we put up them line by line, make corrections, make modifications, modifications, objectives, and material and methodology. And you see, it gets better. It will always get better. So if you can do that, that is also what we do in CASLAB. Well, even the grant that was mentioned, that's what we did. We sat down, came up with the idea, we modified it, we give input. We did that, and then we made a solution. So it's very good. That's what we do. I would suggest finally, that those that are involved in the review, table that are involved in review these grants. I mentioned this at some time when I was part of the participatory workshop, Dayton High, Ohio, organized by TetFund. I mentioned this to Professor Moko, that from my past experience, I know that whenever you submit a proposal and this is reviewed, the reviewer's comment normally has to come back to you, whether you win or you not win. And that makes you better. Previously, TetFund was not sending any comments whatsoever, no response. All you have to do, they will just publish those that have won. Then later on, they send letters that okay, your submission, we have seen it, it has passed the first round, but it will not make it to the second round. But that's not feedback. You all know how feedback is. When you write a paper, you send to the reviewers will review and identify the problems and then get it back for you to make corrections. Even if it is rejected, you will know the reason why it is. This is not the case with the subject. Taken up with TetFund. They should be able to give feedback on all proposals that have been submitted to them so that the voters can actually look at it, detail on why their proposal could not make it. Thank you very much.
A round of applause again to Professor Muhammad. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation too. I think, Mr. Chairman, before the next item here on the agenda, there is need for you to wrap up all the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. I think first of all, let's give one more round of applause for all the presenters. Appreciate it very much. I think we have heard them. In education, we say you must have learned. And what is learning? In education, we have three words for learning. Learning is simply changing behavior. Once your behavior has been changed, it means you have learned something. And I'm sure you must have learned something. Your behavior must have been changed. And the way you were thinking of writing the proposal. I just want to make one or two comments. The Nigerian professors are not really lazy. It's a matter of orientation. In the past, and I think up to now, the real thing has not been done. In advanced countries, we are talking about UK, US, there's what we call school industry link. There's a link between schools, universities, and the industries. Industries will give a grant to a professor. A professor will admit a PhD student based on the grant he's given. And that PhD student will study on that grant given to the professor. Here, the story is different. Just admit PhD students. And even where we do, some of you who are, most of you are newcomers here. For some of us who have been old school in this university, in the 80s, in the 80s and late or early 90s, this university was giving grant for research. And we were doing research. But what happened to the role of research? At the end of the day, it's kept in the library. We have produced so many PhD students. How many of the PhDs are being implemented? None. Most of us, our PhDs, where are they? They are packed either in our shelves or in the library shelf. So it's orientation. We have not been oriented in getting grants to assist the community. No industry, no factory, no government agency is consulting us to do research for them. Most of the researches we were doing were simply to get a degree or get a publication. That was the orientation. And that was why professors are reluctant, not lazy, are reluctant to apply for research grants. But I hope, like I said, things are changing, and things are changing for the better. So I hope we will move forward. For you, the participants, I have two principles. My first principle is I would appreciate failure, trying and fail. But I would not appreciate not trying at all because of fear of failure. If you have to fear that, well, if I apply, I will not succeed, then you will never succeed. Try and fail. Next time, you will succeed. You heard what Professor Bello said. For some time, he has been applying and failed. Later, you will succeed. Our local boxers in the house will say, Shake Agara, but try to say, I don't professor. It's better you try and fail. One day, you automatically win. In terms of costing, I think three things I'm not being clearly made. There are three costing areas in TetFund grant. That's what they call direct cost, indirect cost, and equipment. The direct cost is the running cost. The runnings you'll be doing around. You will make your budget for that. The indirect cost, that will involve your research assistants. How much are you going to get them? on what basis I got it. That is one aspect of it. And then, of course, as equipment. How many people are going to buy? You find that people in the sciences. Of course, you know by now that there are 3 categories, which I think Professor Bello mentioned one or two of them. The first category is human and social science category, which has 11 thematics areas. Then you have the science, engineering, technology, and innovation category, which also has 11 thematics. And then, of course, the last one is what they call cross-cutting. Cross-cutting has 6 categories. So you must write your proposal either on one of the categories and one of the thematics. You must be specific. And the last comment I want to make with regard to what Professor Walker said, multidisciplinary is very important if you want to win a research grant. In the 80s, early 80s, there was a movement called STS, Science, Technology, and Society. That movement changed in the middle of 1990s to what they call STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Today, in the 21st century, STEM has been changed to STEAM, meaning what? Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics. Art has now been added. Suddenly, scientists realize that they cannot do without artists. Humanities and arts are very critical. You want to do multidisciplinary research, you need somebody from art, depending on the topic. Maybe a historian, maybe a political scientist, what we used to call pseudosciences. That's why they are grouped under humanities and social science. The sciences, pure sciences, are there, the engineering, and of course, innovation. So it's clear that by now, when we undertake a research or write a research proposal, it's very critical that we look at who and who will participate in it. It's just so important that we do that. And people fail because of some of the reasons given. But in addition, people fail because their proposal or whatever they are going to at the end of the day has no value. If your result will not have any value, it will not add any value, no matter how beautiful the English is, nobody will approve it. Because for what? What value is your finding going to add? So you must have a research topic that will add value at the end of the day. That is very, very critical. And then, of course, the executive summary is key. And the last one, they have hammered on it. But they have not hammered very well. And that is the team. Principal investigator is critical. Like I told you, I've been on this team for 3 years. 2013 to 2015. I've been on spirit, national spirit. That time we were only 3 from this university. Myself, Professor Zulu, and Professor Bandi. The team is very important. Who is the principal investigator? It's critical. I think Professor Bandi said something about that. That you cannot have a senior lecturer be a principal investigator while he has professors under him. That would be unrealistic. You'll be intimidated. And chances are you're only putting the professor just for putting sake. And so people will not take you serious. On the other hand, it will be the reverse. Let it be the opposite. Let the professor be there as a principal investigator, even if he's not going to participate fully in the research. By seeing his name there, again, like Udo said, we all know ourselves. We all know ourselves in our various disciplines. I see any research in science education, any professor in science in Nigeria today, I must know him, unless he is less than 2 years as a professor. And any professor in science education in Nigeria today, any university, must know his professors. So if you put me on top and it says me, that's this thing we call Matthew effect. Those of you who are Christians, you know what I mean. That the first name will give a very, very good impression. Even if it is rubbish. But the fact that this professor is a non-professor, this professor cannot participate in the research, it's not a serious one. So it's very critical that your principal investigator is a non-person, non-character, non-personality. That can influence winning the research grant. And so it's very important that we consult with our professors, those of you who are young, who are growing up. It's okay if you want to do the research, it's okay, it's your own research. The professor is not after your money. But be sure that you have somebody serious, somebody senior as your principal. If you have a very good team, I think the thing has not been changed. Because of my knowledge, that section alone used to be given 10 marks. 10 marks for team, research team. all these things are ranked. You have up to 100%. This one has 5 marks, this one has 10 marks. The title is just 1 mark. You have 1.4 title. Executive summary, I think about 5. So they all have their points, and that is one reason again, as Professor Bobbia's question, that sometimes it's difficult to specify the major problem with that particular research because everything is according to scores. I've done my ranking, this one is 5, I give 3, this one is 3, I give 1. And then at the end of the day, I total 67 to 80%. So at the end of the day, things have improved now. In the past, like Bradley said, when we started in 2013, all we did was we'll be given a proposal. I will look at it, study it, analyze it, and then score it. At the end of the day, it is the scores I will report and recommend based on the scores. But this guy has scored 70%, it is therefore something that we can accept. That was what used to be in the past. But now they require we make little comments, which is an improvement. But of course, what you have said, what you say is very important. That the proposal, the person writing the proposal should be communicated and be told his deficiencies so that he can improve. I think that's a very good suggestion, and I'm sure that TetFund will take that into consideration. Without much said, I think we'll open the room now for questions. If you have questions, you can direct your questions to either Professor Mura or Professor Bello. I think we will just leave it open. They will take your questions and then they will respond later. So MC, we want to monitor the people who want to ask questions. As usual, just raise up your hand and you ask the question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala. My name is Umar Garba from let me just give an information that 2020, they communicated to us and they identified our subject. I proposed and outlined our perspective of the change from what we had from our speakers. Now, they responded back to me that my concept note was not successful because of two reasons. One, the budget. Second was how the concept note was presented. Presentation and budget. These were two of my problems. But we have learned a lot now. But I have a question. The UK is presently doing the same thing to what Okoju is doing now. And one of what they said is that no concept note should be submitted without being presented to institutional dating approval. And I don't know how this is being done. But especially in my institution, they do not see anything in the book that this type of to grant this type of thing. And I don't know if they have. It's short, there's no link with the traditional structures and institutions. It is one code is online. I don't know again whether is that institutional dating committee to approve your concept of travel. Issues based last year at this time I was based on invitation by that issues. I was like what we I was based I didn't get many issues right? The fact that it was from people as to check on how to get away from
I was treated by one issue by issue was evidence the research. We have what there's no way you can hire a resource person in your team and pay him far below what you budgeted. This is unethical. If you are not cost, that should be accountability. You know, you have to account for the check. So we should be very careful. Don't project 100,000, but you have for it. And after all the rotating, you give it about 30,000. And we should also be very considerate and very just in the way we work. Another issue also which was not mentioned is the issue of communication. A very good proposal can be made by poor language. So we should be very careful to the media of our proposal. We should have very good English personnel, English experts, those who are proposing explain who are the grammatical issues, grammatical problems, and present it in a better way, in an appealing way. In many cases, we have long paragraphs, hanging sentences. For example, we have equivocal expressions, which are very, very equivocal, and sometimes they even lead to loss of meaning. So I think we should be very careful about grammar. That was a project I was asked to review. And somewhere I found somebody said, I teach English. I teach English. So I was very surprised. Somebody was making to me, I think it's because I teach it. So I was told that I just can't speak because of grammar. So we should be very careful about the grammar. And there's one issue also not captured. Sometimes a very good proposal can be rejected because of the story. Just last week, somebody called me from American University and said they want to establish a world first-class drug addiction acquisition idea, which is not having idea. They want to be at the world collaboration idea, and they wrote a proposal. The proposal was sent several times, but later the president of IIT find somebody from Nigeria who has linked with idea. So somehow they came to understand that I'm among the international prize award committee of IT here from Nigeria. So the certificate just that I should at least write something which will at least serve as possible for them to extend their proposal to IT. So the president said there was not somebody in Nigeria who was collection to IT. So I focused on them and I wrote something which will confirm the proposal. And then I'm going to be replied at the end. Now they say they're going to do further. How do we quantify? How does this up to be winning proposal? I was just one time to see that I did, and they know me and know that I'm going to chat. Now that they want somebody from Nigeria who has this African movement, and they don't need the question. So how do you quantify this? How does this factor in award winning, writing award winning proposal? Somebody should let me answer this question.
Chairman, thank you very much for this. Sure. Right. Well, I have a few comments, but thank God the chairman and so I was actually some of the issues to talk about. One that is the issue of the poor professorship in Nigeria. As I said in one of our meetings, TTF and the TetFund, it is not about the university, it's about the agency itself. That I told them that look, this money we spend in sending the staff outside, then about 35 million for one child, get somebody for a PhD. Set us 6 centers, 6 centers, so that we have enough equipment for all these things. That will reduce our cost and encourage our people to work. Because your research has to do with what you know, what you already know, like I said. It's based on what you already know. If you talk about innovation, that's to do with what you know. And if you go back to UK, USA, and then you decide there, you have a good daily report and all that. Then you came out nothing on ground to work. Then you cannot go ahead. So we need to emphasize this to them, to the agencies. Now, the second thing is on the scoring, on the performance. Yes, thank God, you can't be judged by computer, you don't tell me why. It's not fair, no. In UK, US, they score you and tell you what you are scoring on methodology, on the team, and all that. Like, you see your score. Just like just like you see your score. To be given to you. You give a job to that. You give up to 50% in methodology. You see yourself, and then you have to improve on it. Now, finally, my question, sir, is that in the last 3 years, TetFund introduced concept note. Can we hear detail about this concept note, particularly the difference between detailed research, proposal, and concept note? Because that's now the basis first, the concept note. I think that most of us do not understand very well what they mean by that concept. Thank you.
Thank you. I stand here to briefly discuss about two things. One is related to grant management. I'm happy that is the Chairman Grant Management Office around. I have looked at BBC research is also around because there is this issue during the participated PG presentation. Because the way we have seen outside Nigeria, these kind of funds are usually released to the universities with the name of the PI mentioned. The money is not going to be deposited or lodged or transferred into personal individual accounts, rather the institutional accounts, so that at every 1 or 2 weeks or every 1 month, researchers tender claims of the quotations they have received, and the university grant office now make effort to dispose the payments. This will checkmate or minimize the danger of, I don't want to extend further because all of us understand. I think at the university level, we need to devise ways by which we can control this kind of issues so that those kind of inappropriate behaviors in handling those funds, would be checkmated. And the second issue is, I'm sure I'm going to speak on behalf of the ECR, that they're going to call early career researchers. I came here with the hope that I have reached the time when I can apply for this kind of funding. In 2020, when the first NRF was advertised, I wrote a proposal that was accepted by one of the universities in the US, Oregon, for me to travel there to conduct a research. I got acceptance. In fact, a recommendation was sent to the US Embassy for me to be issued a visa to travel there to do my postdoctoral training. Unfortunately, the COVID-19, disrupted everything. So at that time, I was in L1 position. So I deliberately refused, although I sent by email, but I deliberately refused to apply for the ERF permit for the funding, because how can I take my own time, use my own initiative to conceptualize a research and now bring someone to become my PI with my own idea? I can't comprehend that. At least what I would have loved is that the panel, or some of you that have once been in the panel, you should have advised those that are going to be selecting, those who will successfully, avail the fellowship or the grants, that there are some complement of researchers among the senior lecturers, among the readers, who have great ideas that can successfully, all they need is mentorship. I can remember in 2020 when I couldn't apply for that funding, I wrote a paper that was published by Future Science OR. I think it is Q1 Journal, paper factor around 3 point something. I wrote it out of frustration. It was immediately accepted, and about $1,500 was waived simply because I cannot have access to NRF. I cannot apply. So I think a privileged opportunity, or an attention should be given to any career researchers so that they can equally apply for this kind of opportunities. At the same time, avail the fellowship, avail the grant so that they can equally publish Daily Trust are equally published in NCBI journal. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, I think time will pray, so let's respond to the question briefly, and we go pray. So, Professor Lalo, you want to respond? All right.
No question actually have actually all was. I want to respond to last speaker. I can understand your frustration, but it's very unfortunate that each one agency have guidelines. And when you are L1, you are still young. Even if you create the idea, you are still young. You are going to be, somebody is going to train you. You are still young. It's not about the idea when you invite a professor to please, this is my idea. He will help you shaping it. You don't own knowledge. You don't own knowledge. We are still learning. We are still learning. But whenever you say you are proposing or accepted to go to US for training, that is a training. You are lecturer. Somebody is going to train you, a professor. Probably a lecturer will even supervise you there. Probably a graduate student you work for a graduate student there. So why don't you think of a professor here? You don't own knowledge. You don't own knowledge. Thank you.
Not questions, right? Just not something based on what has been raised. More mention concept. I think one there are certain information that has to be provided the concept. Okay, it has various sections. Because I applied it separately, what I have done for my department and for our research team in Kasla, I created a template. Okay, I think I shared it in also science, Faculty of Science group. It contains all the information that you require. So all you need to do is populate it. And then when you populate it, and then you create your account, of course, with the TetFund NRF website, and then you just copy and paste to populate. So whatever is in the template is also what is needed in the online form. But I have to say that it's very important that you register and do that as early as possible. I had a very bad experience last year. From the department, I think 2 concept notes were accepted, including mine. And I know what I normally do, I write my own proposal full, and then as I say, copy and paste it. So I set up a time for that. After writing the whole proposal, just copy and paste that. But what I did not do is, because it was the first time they were using online form last year, introduced it last year, I didn't go and look at all the components of the online form and how they should be able to populate it. And then that also came up and collided with another problem. So at the end of the day, I couldn't make the submission. There was technical problem on the website. Whenever you log in, you populate, and then you give you 404 error. You have to log out and then go back. And then other issues came in, and then I couldn't make the submission. So what I would advise is do it as early as possible. Now, because of that bad experience, already I have already populated my own concept already since day before yesterday. I've done it already. And another information I will give is that if you have registered last year, that is, you have created an account last year. This account is still active. You don't need to create another one. So you just log in and make the submissions. Institutional vetting. Dr. raised an issue of institutional vetting. It's a good thing if we can do it institutionally, but I don't know. Well, we should be able to handle it if the office organize that. But the volume, I'm thinking of the volume of the consultant that may come, we should be able to handle it. But As I said earlier, we do it at departmental level. Myself, in my own department, we do it at departmental level or at our own research group level. We vet every submission goes through every laboratory collection and all is necessary. So even if the institution doesn't do it, please, you can organize it at your department. Thank you.
Something that I just remember is on the issue of politics. There's politics in everything, in anything. But the way politics come in is by merit. It's not that they are going to overlook a bad thing because no, it's not that you are recognized, you have had expertise in that field, and therefore that it is you as presenting this proposal has a lot of influence. There's an area in my field that is the only 2 of us that have expertise in Nigeria. And one time I had something to be reviewed, and the person is sent to review it with the other person. And we know each other a lot. Is he going to say what I've done is not? I don't know. How does it work? So that is how some of these things, because there has been a lot, you build it up over time. And at one time, you get to a stage where that you are that has a lot of meaning if you actually wrote it. If there's an error, the reviewer will think I know it. I'm going to say it. And this is part of the system. You can't take it away. Look at it, that you have to get in touch with him because they know him. They know his input. They can assess it. They have a feel. So if he says this is good, they are more likely to believe that than anybody else says. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mustafa Imam, a University Grants Manager. I know we don't have much time left, but now I'll quickly go over what the Grant Management Office does for this university. And I believe during the course of my presentation, some of the concerns that have been raised are going to be addressed. So this Grant Management Office is it's a unit under the Center of Excellence in Research, Innovation, and Development, which is under the Office of the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation, and Development. It was established sometime in March 2020, and then a committee was set up to oversee the affairs of this office. I am the chairman of that committee, and then by extension, I am the University Grants Manager. Now, other people that help me in that committee, MD Dr. Tukur Muhammad Mukhtar from History, and then the admin secretary of the Center of Research, Innovation and Development, Bello Abubakar Jab committee. Now, this is where the building is situated. This building, that is where the Grants Management Office is. So if you have any reason to visit the office, this is just beside, this is the former Step B office, just beside the current university clinic. So now in terms of what we do or our mandate, what we're expected to do is to strengthen research activities by providing training of staff on strategies for fundable research, grant applications, similar to what we're doing now. We organize this training, and then moving forward, we're likely going to come up with these sorts of trainings. And then we're also expected to provide effective monitoring and evaluation of all research grants within the university, to also ensure that grants are implemented based on the terms and conditions of the funding bodies. Now, we have come up with an undertaking form. Any researcher that eventually gets a grant will have to go through the grants management office before the funds are eventually released to him. He will have to sign an undertaking form, and on that form, it is clearly spelled out that there are certain responsibilities expected of the researcher, some of which are, for example, to ensure that the grant is used only for what it is given for. And then if for any reason the grants management office requires any update from you for the purpose of audit, then you will have to provide that those records to the grant manager. In addition to that, we also ensure that researchers meet the reporting deadlines of the funding bodies, and then we also assist research in improving research proposals and finding potential funders. Now, although we have tried to sensitize people on this issue, but we have seen very low patronage. So say, for example, you have an idea that we don't have, some of you are very busy, some university staff are quite busy. doing teaching and so many other responsibilities. If for any reason anybody has a research idea that you can't put on paper, you can actually simply just meet members of the grant management office, give us that idea, then we put it on paper for him, give it back to him to see if it fits exactly what his line of thoughts are. In addition to that, if he has a potential funding agency he wants to submit to, that's fine. If he doesn't, we have a database of potential funders that we can easily suggest to him, and we can even help him submit. But then, like I said, unfortunately, we have not seen a change in this particular aspect. Again, we facilitate publication of research outputs in high-impact journals. Now, this involves right from the stage of writing manuscript to the point of publication, including payment of publication fees. The Grants Management Office will facilitate payment of publication fees, no matter how expensive. But this is only in top journals in different fields. So now the assessment or determination of top journal is done based on individual submissions. If you have a manuscript accepted for publication, you submit the evidence that this publication is in a top journal in your field. We will review it together with the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation, and Development. And the chances are that it's going to be, the university will cover the expenses for the payment of for the publication. Now, this is not very clear, but then this is the timeline that has been issued by TetFund regarding the current NRF call for proposals. Now, on this call, you would see that the deadline was supposed to be on the 14th of December. Unfortunately, this had to be extended because I think the call came later than initially anticipated. So now the current deadline is on the 28th of December. Now, what the university is determined to do is any member of the university community submitting his or her concept note to TetFund must submit it to the grant management office. Now, and this is because the concept note is going to be registered, and in addition, the concept note is going to be given to seasoned researchers like some of the members of the high table to give feedback before it is eventually submitted to TetFund. Now, the university is doing this because it wants to ensure that as many fundable concept notes as possible are submitted to TetFund. Now, even if you submit to TetFund without sending it to the grant management office, we're going to catch you. Because when it gets to, if you're eventually invited for submission of the full proposal, which is coming up sometime in February or March, you cannot submit without support of the university. You need an institutional support letter. And at that point, the university is determined to give letters out to only concept notes that have been registered previously before submission. Now, in terms of how we're going to facilitate the entire process of submission of the concept note and full proposals, just like we're having this workshop now, we're also going to have another workshop for for all the researchers that have been invited to submit their proposals sometime in February. And then in addition to that, any team that is invited to Abuja to go and defend their proposal, they're going to receive additional institutional support in terms of payment of the transport fares and accommodation and feeding. So this is the email to which you're expected to send your concept notes together with the names of the PI department email and phone to the grant management office email gmo@udusoc.edu.ng. And this is a sample of the undertaking form. With anybody who eventually wins a grant will have to come to the grant management office to fill this form. Again, there is a form that we have designed at the level of the grant management office, which the university has adopted. Now, we know the importance of accountability when you're managing a grant, but then there are certain payments that you may not be able to get receipts for, and that is what this form is for. For example, you make payments to your colleagues for personnel allowances or any other thing they do, they're unable to get a receipt. Then you'll be able to fill this form and submit as evidence of payment or as evidence of expense. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Time well spent. So once again, I want to thank the presenters. We also want to thank the participants for coming. This I think we can. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the last item on the agenda is we should have a closing prayer. And for that, I want to ask the honor of Dr. Isa Garura to please give us a closing prayer. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for coming.